My guests are here in the studio, and my guest this morning, Abdul Malik Kuba, co-editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Dr. Eric Odro-Osai is private legal practitioner and governance expert. Of course, he will have his views on matters that I have already projected. And Dr. Kwabena Donkor is MP Pro East and chairman, Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy. You're no more on the committee?
No, the chairs, except two committees, come from the majority side.
From the majority side?
I was a chairman.
Okay.
I am not.
You are ranking?
I'm not even ranking.
Okay.
I'm a member.
You're a member. Thank you very much for that correction. And Ni George Anda is MP Owutu Senya West and Deputy Minister of Communications. We will be joined on the phone later by some experts to assist us with this discussion. And this will be the first segment. We will, in the course of that, when we are done, take a break and we assemble the next panel for the other matters that we have tabled for discussion this morning. Okay, so let's begin by listening to bits and pieces, beginning with IMANI Ghana and how they broke the story about what they suspected to be fraud in the $89 million contract, which they say it is chasing only $1 billion. And that absolutely doesn't make any sense. They say it doesn't make any business sense at all. Right, so listen to them and some other reactions that were received, and then we'll return to the studio and look at this issue.
The idea of the monitoring itself is a lazy approach to suggesting that something will be done. And it's a facade, what the word I'm trying to use is that it's a facade. It's to suggest that there's something going on. So we need to pay money, $178 million, in order to procure a system that can actually give us real-time value. By the way, did you know that this same GVG people had been contracted in 2010 by the previous administration to do what? Build, operate, and transfer. The same thing that is happening today. We are paying them $1 million at the time for this same project. So what it is really is that they are using this common monetary platform, obviously aided by a defective law, in order to make it sound so intelligent that we need to become like SHAS, KGB officials. We need to get into the systems of the telcos so that we can assure revenue. I'm submitting to you that they can never do that. They will never get the right revenues anyway. And it will never happen because the functions that the GVG is supposed to perform, we've had them here in the country in 2010. They never return any value. The same BOT. So we should ask them, what happened to the previous BOT arrangement?
Let me clarify.
Payment made for no value returned. That's why the contract itself is a fraudulent one. Because you see, let me tell you something. The contract was done through restrictive tender. We never saw it. We never had it. It was going to be cool chop until people within the telecoms industry say, hey.
Are you not being a bit harsh?
No way.
No
way. How kind of thing is this? This is exactly the deal they've gone to sign. A very bad deal.
We'll come back.
I have cited the resignation of the NCA board member. I haven't seen anywhere in the resignation where it says that her resignation is based on the common monitoring platform. I think that if we understand the governance structure, the ministry supervises the NCA and not the NCA that supervises the ministry. So the NCA, there cannot be a situation where the NCA is contradicting the policy direction that comes from the ministry. What you are saying is not true. I believe that you do the right thing and eat your humble pie. So let's wait for the NCA board, okay? When the NCA board releases a statement, depending on which direction it goes, we can take the discussion further. None of the telcos have expressed any concern about the implementation of the policy. The telecom chamber hasn't expressed any concern about implementation of the policy. They are in full support of government's decision to implement this policy. There are two concerns that they had. The one on the privacy of their subscribers' data and one on security of their infrastructure. There's no way that we're going to compromise on the spirit of the law. Whatever we are doing hasn't got access to the content of the subscriber data. I'm not sure that there's any telco that is talking to you, and I'll challenge. I'll challenge you to name whichever telco is talking to you.
All right, so you heard Franklin Kujo, who is the president of IMANI, in that interaction on PM Express with Nana Nsakwao. And then you heard George Anda, who is right here in the studio, also reacting to some portion of the claims that had come up about the resignation of a member of the NCA board as a result of these developments. And he sought to put it in perspective that the resignation was not attributable to the matters that had come up. Right. So I'd like to start with you, since you are here in the studio yourself this morning. Good morning to you once again, and welcome.
Good morning, Samson, and good morning to your viewers and listeners, and good morning to my fellow panelists.
Right. On a rather lighter note, it must feel very awkward that IMANI, Franklin Kujo, people that you were in the trenches with, that I think together in Occupy Ghana and doing all the criticism of government, is the one that you now have to face on an issue that you don't agree.
Well, I think there's always an opportunity for people to have different opinions on different matters. It depends on what information you have access to that informs the opinion that you take or the position that you take. And as far as this issue is concerned, I'm 100% convinced that this is good for Ghana.
Great.
I'm 100% convinced that nothing has happened as far as breach of the governance process. I'm 100% convinced that IMANI is either misinformed or they have been motivated to do whatever it is that they are doing. And it's interesting to note that in December 2017, IMANI themselves recognized the Ministry of Communications as a lead ministry in Ghana as far as transparency, as far as policy direction, as far as openness was concerned, open engagement was concerned. And so I would have expected that in the spirit of that recognition that IMANI gave the Ministry of Communications, if they had any concerns or they had any information that seems to suggest that something untoward was going on, the most reasonable thing that IMANI should have done was to have engaged the ministry. And my senior colleague here was just reminding me of a time that Occupy Ghana wrote to him to seek further clarification on certain issues, and he invited Occupy Ghana to the meeting, and the issues were discussed. So
right.
People could be misinformed. The fact that somebody tells you about something doesn't make it a fact of the matter.
Okay, so let's go to the substance now. And actually, there's now a call for cancellation of this 89 million contract to KelniGVG, and your minister is being asked to step aside and to allow for some probe into the matter. Parliament appears to be interested if it does come up. Your minister says that, and yourself, you have said that IMANI is simply misinforming the public. Can you explain what you mean by IMANI is misinforming the public on this subject?
Okay, Samson, I think that we need quite a bit of time to deal with this issue. So
right,
with your permission, I want to go through the background to the traffic monitoring and common platform. Then I'll look at how the AfriWave bit came into as far as monitoring international inbound traffic is concerned. Then I'll talk about the need for real-time monitoring of traffic, which the common platform seeks to do. Then events leading to the culmination of efforts to create the common platform. I would talk about actually what happened as far as the stakeholder meeting was concerned and the recommendations that came out of the stakeholder meeting. Then I'll talk about the common platform. There's the build, operate, transfer arrangement of the model that we have. Then the highlights of the common platform as far as the functions are concerned, and I'll try and conclude. And I believe that once I go through this process, everybody would sort of understand what
you have quite a presentation to do. I'll do my best to accommodate you making a presentation.
Okay,
but this is a discussion platform.
Fine. Yeah, I agree. So the Electronic Communications Act of 2009 instituted the 19 cents as the minimum amount to be charged by network operators for international inbound calls. That's 19 cents per minute. Now, Section 5 of that Act imposes a duty on the National Communications Authority to establish a mechanism and institute a process to monitor compliance as far as this floor price this floor price is concerned for international inbound traffic, and to ensure that government of Ghana receives the required tax revenues with this arrangement. Now, GVG was engaged to do this work in that period, and they were required to also manage fraud on the networks to reduce the incidences of traffic bypasses, as people commonly refer to as SIM-boxing, where you receive an international call and it shows as a local number, or it shows as a private number. I mean, clearly it's not going through the approved route, and it's bypassing the approved route. So government loses revenue when these kind of occurrences.
A fraudulent act for which some people have been prosecuted and jailed.
Exactly.
Very recently.
Exactly. Okay. Now, the provision of this contract was taken over by SUBA, okay, in 2012, before the expiration of the GVG contract, which was supposed to have happened in 2013. So when SUBA took over the GVG contract, they continued to monitor both local and international inbound traffic for the NCA and for the Ghana Revenue Authority. The monitoring was, however, not on real-time basis. It was taking CDRs or Excel sheets from the operators, okay, and then processing this data. So I want to establish one clear point here, that even though the Act was asking for real-time data to be processed, the vendors that were in place at that time were not processing real-time data. They were processing mediated CDRs, which means that any telco could tamper with the data and then hand over that data to the vendors or to the suppliers. Okay, so that is important to note this point. Okay, so the amended Communication Service Tax Act, okay, now makes it imperative for the Minister of Finance, in collaboration with the Minister of Communications, to identify a vendor to supply a common monitoring platform, okay, that will be plugged into the systems of the telcos. So you don't have a situation that was like before, where the Ghana Revenue Authority would have its vendor monitoring traffic for the purpose of revenue assurance, and then the NCA would also have its vendor monitoring traffic for the purpose of calculating levies and stuff like that. So it was a more efficient process, and the law was clear as far as this was concerned. It is important for me to read these sections of the Electronic Communications Act, just 3 points. A, to establish a mechanism to verify the actual revenues that accrue to the vendors for the purpose of computing taxes due to government under this act. B, be given fiscal access to the fiscal network nodes of the vendor's network at an equivalent point in the network where the network providers' billing systems are connected. And C, to ensure that a common platform, and emphasis, a common platform, is used for the purpose of monitoring revenues under the Act, as well as revenues accruing from levies under the Electronic Communications Act 2009, Act 775. Now, despite this law coming into force, the mobile network operators refused to grant access to any of the vendors from connecting real time, and they gave certain reasons. I mean, two main reasons. One was about the privacy of their subscribers' data, and the second one was about the security of the network systems themselves. However, instead of the NCA then sort of addressing the concerns that the mobile network operators had, they then decided that they were going to complicate the issue further by the introduction of a quasi clearinghouse. So that is how AfriWave now comes into the picture. Okay. So in 2016, the Electronic Communications Act was amended, this Act 910, to make interconnection through the Interconnect Clearinghouse mandatory. Now, in furtherance of this amendment, the Electronic Communications Interconnect Clearinghouse Services Regulation 2016 was passed, leading to the licensing of AfriWave Ghana Limited in August 2016 to provide the interconnect clearing services. Now, the scope of AfriWave included monitoring of international inbound traffic and anti-fraud monitoring, which is SIM-boxing. And the introduction of AfriWave meant that there was now going to be a clear duplication of efforts if SUBA continued with the international inbound traffic monitoring services to the NCA. So we further complicated the issue in 2016 with the introduction of AfriWave. Now, we should also understand that once you are in charge of a clearinghouse, it means that you're going to carry traffic yourself. Okay, Samson. So you cannot be monitoring the traffic that is being carried in the industry independently, and you are carrying traffic yourself. I mean, it's a clear conflict of interest, and is against the act. So there was a need for, and again, I'd said that the act was talking about the need for the real-time traffic monitoring through a common platform, and this is the law. And the purpose of doing this is to ensure the accuracy of traffic volumes for us to be able to compare the CDR record, the CDRs that the telcos are providing with the CDRs that the common platform system is able to generate independently, and processing these through the MNOs, the mobile network operator switches. Okay, and so two things that are important here is that the independent monitoring, okay, and monitoring this in real time. If traffic is not monitored in real time, the only source of capturing traffic volumes will be the mobile network operator CDRs, okay, and it's a fact that these can be manipulated. I'm not saying that they are manipulated, but it's possible to manipulate these CDRs before they are handed over to government for the purpose of whatever monitoring that we are doing. So and we must establish the fact that up to now, okay, there hasn't ever been in the history of this government an opportunity, or in the history of this country, not this government, history of this country, for any monitoring system to monitor the traffic or the telco activity in real time. Every time the vendors have been doing this through mediated CDR. So the real time monitoring has never happened.
The SUBA Info Solutions, is that the name? That the contract initially we knew that they were doing this job. It's not real time.
It's not real time. It's not real time.
Okay, and you remember that came up as a big issue. I remember you were one of the front people that had issues with that.
With the real time monitoring?
No, with what SUBA Info
Solutions
I mean,
was doing. So the arrangement that they are supposed to do is that they're supposed to be getting real time data, but the telcos resisted the plugging in of this monitoring system. So until now, there hasn't been any real time data that has been collected from the telcos. Okay.
There are a couple of issues, but this one, because you are talking about real time monitoring, I don't know how much it features largely, but it has to do with how exactly are you sure that you are doing the right thing with this real time monitoring? Because if I'm placing a call and I'm supposed to be charged for the minutes that I'm recorded as having spoken, you don't make a differentiation between whether I am using some promotional credit to make the call, and so there will be a difference
in the amount that is being spent. That is the more reason why we need the independent monitoring. Okay,
but that independent monitoring will not distinguish between me using a credit that's been dashed me or using a time zone that does not, cost a certain amount.
Samson, all the telcos, okay, these different scenarios that you're talking about, it is not a human being that decides that at this time charge free airtime, okay, at this time change the tariff. It is plugged in into the system.
Okay,
you understand? And what we're doing is monitoring by duplicating what the telco system is doing. Okay, so whatever issues that are happening, if it's a promotion that is going on, once the telco says that this is a promotion that is going on, and we verify there's a promotion that is going on, so the tariff of that particular segment or that particular time period varies. Okay, the same thing would be fed into the system. Okay, in any case, if the telcos provide their CDRs and we provide our CDRs and there are differences, we sit with the telcos to understand why there are differences. And once we either party or both parties are convinced that these differences are justified, okay, and they come to a situation where it's like, okay, they're on the same position, then we are happy and we go out. But until such time that we can be able to monitor traffic, there's no way that we can be able to tell the revenues that should accrue from that traffic that's being monitored.
You are saying that the argument that went against the Suba Info Solutions contract about they doing practically nothing and getting money for does not apply in this case, as IMANI seeks to suggest.
Well, I mean, you see,
they're getting money for free for doing practically nothing.
Well, that was the previous situation, because the CDRs that the telcos were, or the mobile network operators were handing over to the previous vendors, were the same CDRs that the NCA was getting from the previous vendors free of charge. Okay, and there was very little variation between what the telcos were presenting and what the vendors or who were supposed to be providing this independent assessment were presenting. And so clearly, I mean, for us, it doesn't quite make business sense, because NCA was getting the CDRs in any case. Now, why the law is saying that we should monitor the revenue real time. Okay, it's only when we can monitor the revenue real time that we can tell exactly what is happening. If we are using mediated CDRs, then we might as well just stop wasting our time, because NCA is getting that information anyway. So that is a non-starter. We are working with the law, and the law is talking about real-time monitoring, and we are most certain that we are going for real-time monitoring instead of using mediated CDRs.
The big picture, IMANI is saying that this is money going down the drain. You are just depleting the resources of this country for no reason. They say it doesn't make any business sense to invest $89 million into a contract only for revenue that you expect at $1 billion.
You see, the thing is that the discussion, the purpose of monitoring is not necessarily about a suspicion of revenue leakages. Okay, we want to be we want to be assured. Okay, and again, there are 4 systems that we are looking at. We're looking at the traffic management system, we are looking at the revenue assurance system, we are looking at the fraud management system, we are looking at the mobile money system. Now, for the purpose of this discussion, let us just take, for example, mobile money. In 2017, the telcos reported that mobile money value, or the value of mobile money transactions, had hit 35 billion Ghana cedis. Okay, now 35 billion Ghana cedis, if my math is right, if you translate into dollars, you're getting a figure of about $9.3 billion dollars. Now, the total economy of Ghana is $50 billion. So there's mobile money that is like, let's say, what, 20% of the value of the Ghanaian economy, that the Bank of Ghana has no independent assessment of the transactions that are taking place of that whole system. Okay, now the inclusion of the mobile money monitoring system was actually at the request of the Ministry of Finance, because the Ministry of Finance also wants to know what is happening in this space. You understand what I'm saying? So it is not necessarily about catching a thief. It's about getting information. And Samson, I mean, you and I know that getting information is expensive. The issue, what you do with the information, is what returns the value to you. And if you have a monitoring system in place, and I use this analogy on other platforms, I mean, we come here, there are security men outside. Okay, why do you have those security men outside? Are you saying that because the security man hasn't got any thief, then you should sack the security man away? I mean, I'm sure that you have an internal auditor in here. Why do you have an internal auditor in here? Okay, the fact that the internal auditor hasn't necessarily caught a thief doesn't mean that you don't need that internal auditor. So that argument is actually flawed. And again, what I'm saying is that IMANI is misinformed. Okay, because if IMANI understands what the issues are, they'll not be going on that tangent.
Okay.
And again,
now,
and
say briefly about this, and let me get the guests to speak. The other panelists to speak, and then we shall return to you.
I appreciate it. Okay, now there's a law. Okay, if you feel the law is flawed, okay, the most reasonable thing to be done is to challenge the law. Okay,
the issue is not about the law.
No, they are saying that we are implementing a bogus law. Okay, Franklin Kujo has said on several platforms that we are implementing a bogus law. Now, this is a law that was sponsored by the previous administration. The current administration have come. We believe that this law is still relevant. Okay. Now, the members of parliament that passed this law, okay, represent Ghanaians. So you cannot be saying that. I mean, without you challenging the law, you sit back and you are saying that.
I was asking you to speak to this briefly because there are other very germane issues that we'll bring up on this issue. Briefly, about what background checks did you do on this company? Because from what IMANI is saying, and they have shown some of the incorporation documents, they are saying that this company is incorporated to, is it export or import cement and tomatoes?
Something be fair to your viewers. Okay, within that incorporation, there's a specific section that says that they provide ICT services. Tell your viewers I'm lying. Tell your viewers that I'm lying. Has the company been registered to provide ICT services?
They say they don't have a track record.
Listen, I'm asking you a question. You are making reference to selling of cement and stuff like that. And I'm asking you, okay, I'm sure that you've seen that document. Tell your viewers and tell your listeners. Has the company been registered under the laws of Ghana to provide ICT services and solutions?
You make your point if it's a point of fact. I don't need to confirm.
No, you're not being fair
it's
here.
All right.
No, you're not being fair here because you make reference to what IMANI is saying. And you are hiding the truth that's in there.
I'm not hiding anything.
So confirm whether it's there. That's what
it is, of course.
Thank you.
I don't need to confirm.
So
that's what I'm telling you.
In talking about the cement and rice, okay, you should also be fair and say that the company is also registered under the laws of Ghana to provide ICT solutions and services. And within that registration, they are allowed to do what they are doing.
Okay. Now, part of the background checks you are questioned as not having done properly is the fact that this company has been in trouble in Liberia, Senegal, Malawi, and others. I mean, matters of sleaze, corruption, they have been involved in, so to speak. So how come they can attract a business in Ghana?
Samson, with all due respect, I think some of these things, IMANI is not God. Okay,
I'm not referring to IMANI on this note.
Who are you referring to?
I have information I can share with you, but it's on the basis of that information that I'm asking the question.
Samson, again, I think that your production people should do the right balance. I've appeared on different platforms on this station, and I've given information, okay, about this company, the joint venture between KelniGVG. Okay, now until now, none of your people have come and challenge that information that I've been giving is wrong. Okay, I've given a testimonial from the Ministry of Communication.
They don't have to challenge. They just give you the platform.
Can I land?
Yes, go ahead.
Can I land? I've given a testimonial on GVG issued by the Ministry of Communications in 2010 when this government was not in power. Okay. His government was in power. Okay, I've given information, a testimonial from the International Telecommunications Union. I've given testimonial from the Republic of Liberia, from the Republic of Rwanda, from the Republic of Senegal, from the Republic of Guinea-Conakry. Okay, all these countries, okay, where GVG is supporting governments or has supported governments, and not once has there been any negative PR. Now, let me tell you something. It's not uncommon.
Right.
It's not uncommon when such companies come in to partner the regulator of government for the purpose of carrying out these activities to receiving some of these.
Okay,
these
it's all right.
challenges.
You can pause here. You can pause here. Thank you very much. And we've been listening to George Anda. For those of you who are listening to us via radio for the last 20 minutes or so. Now, let me bring in Dr. Kwame here. And you certainly have read the material, including what our production team shared. Do you find that IMANI has germane issues that they are raising? I did not hear George respond in a certain emphatic way to the value for money, question.
Can I then respond to it?
No, you get an opportunity later.
Okay.
Well, let me say that telecommunication is not my forte.
Right.
And I won't pretend to know more than the average Ghanaian. I don't think it is wrong for IMANI to raise issues. That is how any democracy develops. However, having raised the issues is the way we address those issues that is important. What is the Ghana project in all this? What is in it for the development of Ghana, and particularly indigenous companies? That is the angle from which I want to look at it. I'm hearing different days of incorporation Others saying the company was incorporated in 2017.
The joint venture.
The joint venture was incorporated in 2017, and others saying they had done business in Ghana in 2010, etc. If the joint venture is between the ministry and an indigenous company, that's a different thing. If it's between the ministry and a foreign registered company, that is also or the ministry or NCA.
No, sorry. The ministry is not part of this joint venture. The joint venture is between KelniGVG and GVG. KelniGVG was a company that was incorporated in Ghana. Okay, GVG was a company that was working in Ghana. And they came together in 2017.
Which is Ghanaian and which is foreign.
KelniGVG is Ghanaian.
And GVG is foreign.
Yes.
Well, then that raises another issue. If a foreign company is being contracted by the National Communication Authority, please let me land, or the ministry.
Yes.
Or the ministry. Then there's the issue of a foreign contract. Did it go through parliamentary approval?
There's no foreign company that is being engaged. It's an entity, a joint venture entity that is registered in Ghana.
Yes. No, registering a company in Ghana does not necessarily make it Ghanaian. And that is why I'm
I'm saying that it's a joint venture company that is registered in Ghana.
Incorporating a foreign company.
No, it's not incorporating a foreign.
It's okay. I think you should allow him to make his point. There may be some legal basis on the case line of cases that the Supreme Court has held on matters about, contracts that need to go to Parliament. So allow him to make his point. Let's hear. Yes.
And if there is a foreign element in this, my idea would have been this coming before Parliament. We could have avoided this whole hullabaloo if this had come before the appropriate committee.
Because that's one of the concerns.
Yes, in Parliament. The ministry NCA would have had the opportunity to tender documents and dispel whatever it is that has to be dispelled. And other stakeholders could have also had the opportunity to come before the appropriate committee. That is my first worry. How do we develop governance? Because we keep on getting the same problem, and it looks like we, as a nation, Project Ghana, we have not learned. And that is my first worry. My second worry is the SUBA contract, is it still valid? If it's valid, are we paying double? And then, of course, quite recently, Bank of Ghana commissioned another group to do the mobile money platform thing that raises its own issues. If that is also valid, how do we reconcile having more than one contract doing about the same thing? That is where the economics and the value for money for me question comes in. We have Bank of Ghana contracting a company to do at least the mobile money end. I've just been told by my honorable colleague that this new contract also incorporates a mobile money platform element. Then we still have SUBA somewhere. If that contract is still valid, then it is not tidy in terms of value for money for Ghana. If the SUBA contract is defective, then have we taken steps to abrogate that contract so that we can then come in with a better contract? There
are issues that will come up because he suggested, for example, that SUBA, is not engaged in real-time monitoring, which they will dispute. And they expect that he would know better because he has been part of the committee that has visited and confirmed that they do real-time monitoring. So we'll raise all of these in the course. But are you satisfied with his explanation to you about the fact that there's no foreign, contract?
I am not.
And therefore there's no need for any parliamentary scrutiny?
I am not.
No, he's telling you that these entities have come together to set up a GV, a joint venture, right here in Ghana.
It's a joint.
So it is not subject to...
Look, if you come to the oil and gas sector, where I am most conversant, the fact that you set up a local joint venture partner does not take the responsibility of meeting the Ghanaian legal requirements.
All right.
For me,
Judge, hold on.
Just a minute. I think that there are certain fundamental issues that
you know what? I've seen you are noting. You must do that for me.
The thing is that,
you must do that for
address it,
no,
the other,
note it so that you don't forget.
May still be going on that tangent.
Okay, can you do this for once?
Yes. Okay.
In a minute,
please,
this.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Now, the super contract has been terminated. Okay, fact of the matter, super contract has been terminated. So the if that he's making reference to doesn't hold. Okay. Number two,
because issues are being raised, as you say, some of these things.
Samson.
They have been to court.
Samson.
They have an injunction that is still in hold, right?
Samson.
That is against you.
Samson.
And you are trying to set aside that in the court.
Samson.
Right.
So super contract has been terminated. Okay. Matters arising are separate. Okay. If there's an ongoing settlement, I mean, that is an ongoing settlement. But the fact of the matter is that the contract has been terminated. So there's no duplication of payment.
Right. What again?
Okay. Number two, on the issue of value for money.
No, Bank of Ghana. Once you've addressed the Bank of Ghana.
So interoperability.
Mobile money.
Now let us understand that interoperability is looking at transactions outside an operator's network. Okay, as far as the mobile money space is concerned. Now, I mean, for those of us within the industry, you normally would know that the off-network transactions will be about 20 to 25% of the total value of your transactions. And your on-network transactions is about 70 to 80%. So whereas Gibbs is monitoring, or has the capacity, or now would have the capacity to monitor about 25% of the off-network activity in the mobile money space, you have 75 to 80% of the activity that is not monitored. Okay, so you have transactions that are taking place from people that are sending money to their peers, from people that are topping up money, people that are making payments, and all these. The Bank of Ghana apparently has no independent visibility of this. Okay. So that addresses the issue.
Thank you.
Now on the issue of value for money, I mean, I think for me this is the easiest thing to confirm. You have two solutions previously. Okay, fraud, traffic monitoring, and then revenue assurance that were being delivered by two vendors illegally. Okay, because that's not what the law says. The law says it is a common platform that you need. These two vendors, on the average, were being paid $2.6 million a month. Yeah. Now you have a situation where beyond the two, you've added mobile money monitoring and you've added fraud assurance, fraud management to it. So you're getting four solutions. Four solutions at the cost of $1.49 million a month. This is delivered at 55% less than what the previous arrangement was. Okay. And most importantly, at the end of the period of the contract, the equipment becomes owned by the government of Ghana. So whatever it is that you are paying on a monthly basis, you tend to own the equipment at the end of the period of the contract.
Thank you.
Whereas in the previous arrangement, Africa and Suba were keeping the equipment
Very
for themselves.
eloquent in that explanation. Now, Doc, you've heard the broader issues about really the question of value for money. I'll return to him because we have quite a line of questions that he must respond to, including whether or not, as we speak, this company has been able to plug in, even though they have been paid for a few months that after the contract, whether or not, they have seen whatever equipment it is that they are bringing in. And we have a former situation of AfriWave and Suba, and those machines or equipment we don't own. I mean, IMANI appears to have genuine questions that need answers. So let's hear from you what you think of the situation and whether or not you also endorse the demand that there ought to be a certain level of probe.
Thank you very much, and let me say good morning to our listeners and viewers. I think I will not fault IMANI for asking questions. I mean, that's what democracy is about. Yeah. And National Communication Authority or Ministry of Communication is working for Ghanaians. So the ultimate beneficiaries of whatever they are doing are Ghanaians. We shouldn't confuse the issues.
Doing it on behalf of Ghanaians.
On behalf of Ghanaians. So we should be the beneficiaries. So if we think that we are not benefiting, I mean, we should ask questions. One, there are various questions that I think Ministry of Communications may not have answered well. We wouldn't have been where we are today if those questions had been answered well. The first one is the due diligence and value for money analysis he gave to us this morning. Now, if you do due diligence and value for money analysis and you think that it is going to inure to the ultimate benefit of Ghanaians, why didn't you put it out there? Two, we should distinguish between cost-benefit analysis and contract award processes. IMANI is raising issues about the contract award processes, the engagement processes. is IMANI wrong? How were the people engaged? Now, if IMANI is wrong, come out clearly with a position paper on the matter and tell us what you did. There is also this issue of baseline. What is the baseline? What was the situation like before we engaged this joint venture? And I like Doctor's question about the legal status of the joint venture and the fact that it should have gone to Parliament. You know, these are issues, whether IMANI raised them or not, the average Ghanaian would be concerned about. I think that the way from where we have come from and the way things are going, we should probe into this matter. I endorse the probe. But I will not fault anybody for anything. But I think that it was the procurement process and the way we engaged them and the fact that we did not communicate so well to the Ghanaian people. That is why we are witnessing what we are.
You are not saying that the procurement process does not allow a procurement that the formula that was used and that IMANI's demand is the ultimate thing. At all costs, there ought to have been, you know, as it were, public disclosure of everything else. Is that the case?
What I'm saying is that at all times, there should be transparency, especially when you have abrogated another contract and you have a new one coming in. Definitely, people will make issues out of it.
A contract that appears we may be paying a judgment debt on if we are not lucky.
Well, it is not conclusive. It is still in court. So I will not go along those things. Right. But I am saying that once you are migrating from one contract to the other and you firmly believe that the shift you've made is going to inure to maximum benefit, value for money to Ghanaians, you should have put out a position paper and the communication should have been more effective and more transparent than we have done. So IMANI is on point by raising those questions.
Okay.
But my advice is that the ministry should take its time and respond to all these issues together with others that IMANI may not have requested, so that the transparency that Ghanaians need to know about this whole transaction will be laid bare.
You're right about that. So, and please be noting them. No, don't come in yet. Be noting them. I will come to you. I'll come back to you. Okay, when you I'll come back to you. Sorry, George. Sorry, George. I'm saying that, hold on. He's got a couple of questions. I'll get you to answer them. Thank you, Doc. So we'll come to you. You get to answer some of those questions. Yeah. IMANI has asked them. You should be explaining why you chose sole sourcing. You should be telling us. You should be telling us who are the faces behind the Ghanaian company. They are interested, and the public is interested because after all, this is public money. Correct that. Thank you.
Please correct that.
I'm saying that you should take your time. You will answer these questions. They are raising them.
You were saying that we chose sole sourcing. Okay. I'm saying that it is factually inaccurate.
Okay.
It was a restrictive tendering.
Restrictive tendering. Yes. Okay. The two of them really. Okay, it's the law doesn't say sole sourcing is the same.
They are not the same.
They are not the same thing.
They are not the same, but they are identical in some terms.
No, with the restricted tendering. Let's stop this mischief. You should have suppliers on a database.
I know about that. Yes, Koku.
Well, one more time. You know, I tried so much to persuade your producer to exclude me from this segment.
The first segment.
I did, just like last week.
Right.
Because of the technical nature of the subject matter. And because I like the technical competence, the professional competence to deal with this issue in the way that I deal with other issues that I'm well educated, well informed on. But he insisted I should be here. I said, well, if I come and I talk nonsense, nobody should blame me. But you see, to be honest with you, we should be asking very straightforward questions, some of which have been answered here. But because of the way we do our public discourse, public advocacy, sometimes at the end of the day, it's just emotions, sentiments, no benefit of intellect. We don't learn, especially people like us who want to learn, don't learn. IMANI,
there's nothing wrong with people being passionate about communicating, you know, their disagreements.
The passion must come with some benefit of intellect for those of us who are actually experiencing that passion. I want to learn. I want to be educated. Yes, I've told you, when it comes to choosing between the culture of ugly noises and the culture of silence, I go for the ugly noises. Except we all know that there's a middle ground, responsible speech, which we should be striving for.
You and the president share the same principle?
Yes, we've shared it for many, many years. You know, IMANI is a very credible think tank. I've praised them a lot over the years. Indeed, I cited them as part of my, you know, during the Kofi Annan lecture, the CDD lecture. They're very critical, and they've done so well for this country, including the personalities that man this institution. But I realized something along the line when I heard my brother Franklin Kujo engaging George Anda. I realized there was something missing in terms of IMANI seeking information from the ministry. I think there was a deficit. Not that IMANI has no right to go out to make its own case, they do. But because of what IMANI is and represents, I thought there were certain areas that they could have sought clarification relative to the course they wanted to embark on before doing it. Because some of the issues subsequently, when I heard them debating and arguing, became a bit clear. And I realized that there are things we shouldn't be pushing to the point where it's as if nobody has an answer.
You're not saying they are not entitled to seek these clarifications publicly?
I said so. I just said they are entitled to it, but dependent on what kind of credibility and integrity you come with, and the prowess you have, the stature. It's easy.
Because as far as they are concerned, George should be the last to be questioning them on that, because we were doing this thing together and they didn't go to government asking for certain things and completely have, you know, the whole picture, as it were, they are being accused of before they did what they have
I've
to
never
do.
worked with IMANI.
You may say so, but when they were doing that,
under the auspices of Occupy Ghana.
Occupy Ghana never did.
I know.
Occupy Ghana always asks for clarity.
Thank you.
And he can confirm. My good friend here can confirm. When we wanted information, we asked for clarity from him. Okay, and he invited us. Honorable, please tell me if I'm telling lies.
Sometimes Occupy Ghana makes the judgment from the information available in the public before it proceeds to ask for.
Case, you don't
Thank you. Let's have
IMANI doesn't speak for Occupy Ghana.
I'm not against them going out to make their case, and I've established that they are entitled to do so if they decided that this is the way forward. But in the course of doing so, what is your aim? Your aim is to conscientize, educate, and inform all of us, and indeed bring to the forward whatever deficits in terms of integrity contracts that government agencies are entering into have.
They have made their research and they have made a judgment. They are clear about what they are saying, and they say probe it.
But IMANI is not a court of law.
Cancel the contract and probe this.
They are not a court of law.
Right.
They cannot make any pronouncement that has judicial value in order to terminate a contract. They've just put it out there. And I'm not saying they are not entitled to say so.
Okay, so proceed. You are getting to some specifics that...
So we go for the law first. The Procurement Act. Was it violated or it wasn't violated? Somebody says that they should have done what is follow the international competitive bidding process. That's what somebody is saying. I believe even here the issue has come up in terms of the link to Parliament.
Right.
Is that a valid point or not? This is a question. In my candid opinion, I don't see a violation of the Procurement Act relative to a joint venture in this sense. I don't see it. I may be wrong. So it means it's a question that ought to be answered. Value for money analysis is come up here. George has proffered some explanation. That is still an outstanding issue. Regardless of what George has said here, it doesn't represent the total truth. That's the way I see it. So, and the credibility of the GVG and Kelly. But you see, because I don't know whose track record is being referred to. Is it GVG?
GVG.
Now, I've read things that in Guinea-Conakry, Tanzania, and Senegal, they flopped. Now, George has countered by saying in other jurisdictions, they succeeded. We don't know the specific reasons for the flopping in some jurisdiction and the success elsewhere, but it's a legitimate concern to raise. So for me, the procurement matter, the track record matter, the value for money matter are legitimate issues that have been articulated out there in the public domain.
Okay.
Instead of continuing this runabout debate. We need to subject those things to verification on an established platform.
So on the procurement matter, when they say it is about the choice of procurement method that they have issues with because of the nature of the contract.
For instance, the Public Procurement Board is available immediately. They know their mandate, they know their rules and regulations, the processes that came to them. I haven't seen, and let me be honest, any of those correspondence and communication. Usually there's a trail. So that the Public Procurement Board is expected itself. And the one in charge now, I know him very well. Mr. Aji, ABIG, is he still there? He's still there.
He's still there.
Yes, I know him very well. I know his professionalism. I know what he does, the details he puts into approvals and things. Isn't it very easy to find out from the Public Procurement Board if indeed the processes that were adopted in this case is valid in law?
I'm not sure they have questioned the validity
No,
rather
they said,
than the choice
no,
of
no,
the method.
No, you haven't heard. They said there
Because-
should have been
because
international competitive
if you
bidding.
realize,
They have. I've heard it.
And George will agree that not issues of politics, but you have heard how we, somehow there was a collective agreement on it that the previous government was choosing a certain method that Ghanaians were not excited about, and it was a big campaign matter. So they have a right to say, you have chosen a method that we have issues with because of what is involved, correct?
Because you have issues with, or because the law must have issues with.
Okay. All right.
That's the point I'm making.
Let me finish. Yeah.
You have issues with, that's fine. But does the law have issues with it?
Okay.
And I'm saying that the starting point, we can easily get PBA to tell us, to give us their input.
Right.
They are not exclusive, the only group to be asked of that question. Okay? They are not. There are many other statutory institutions that can study the law and tell us. But I'm saying that I will begin from Public Procurement Authority. The processes that they approved, is it in accordance with law or not? That's my view. I want education. I want information. Now, two, the track record of this GVG, beyond the media reports and things, can't we assess those incidents?
Okay.
Then the value for money. So to be honest, in spite of the fact that in terms of the explanations and clarifications, I'm inclined at this stage to think that the Ministry of Communications has a stronger case. But I'm not going to say it is absolute. So I call also for an inquiry. For instance, the audit service is there. They can investigate the processes, value for money, audit and all the rest. Somebody can petition the SHRAJ, all that. So that you see, why the debate continues? And because it's a democracy, you can't stop anybody from debating. But we need to put the issues before an established inquiry.
Right.
To determine the validity or otherwise.
Okay. So let me speak briefly to Mr. Richard Nyama. Mr. Richard Nyama used to be the network operations manager for a private Ghanaian company and is aware of how the real-time monitoring, is hooked onto. Let's see if you can give us some education on this. We have had difficulties with our phone lines this morning. Now, Rich, thank you very much for joining us on Newsfile.
Thank you, Samson.
Right. Right, Richard. So help us understand how exactly this process works. You have some knowledge of how it goes.
Yes. Thank you, Samson, once again for having me. The Network Operations Center gives you a bird's eye view of what actually is transpiring across the country. So at the Network Operations Center, there are screens that show you as the map and every single site and all that is taking place. So the activities that are going on, even if you are entering the site, I can tell from the Network Operations Center. Calls that are made, the login time, the time the call is terminated, the duration of the call. All these things are captured straight away into a spreadsheet. Okay. What happens is, on the aspect of the revenue assurance that government will be very interested in, the call log time and the termination time gives you the duration. So if you aggregate, you're able to tell on a hourly, daily, weekly, monthly basis the amount of traffic and the cost and all that, and that would assist in the revenue assurance aspect of it. I have heard these claims about how the security of data and the systems of the companies involved could be tampered with. Yes, if you have such issues, and the NCA, you put a filtration system into your software that takes out what you don't want displayed out there. But what I can tell you is that you have private companies. These network operation centers are currently being run by private companies. Huawei is a Chinese company. American Towers Company Limited is an American company. So this data that NCA should have access to, which government wants to have access to, is already available to other companies. So when you're talking about data security and your privacy issues, there's a question mark. Are these particular companies already having such access? They are not, because you cannot monitor live conversations at this platform.
So Richard,
yes.
this data security and privacy questions, they have been with us for as long as this project was started, starting with Suba and AfriWave. What has changed that now we shouldn't be concerned about them?
You see, the previous situation was that, like I think just explained, the information was being filtered and then handed over. That is secondary data. And you and I know secondary data cannot be relied upon as compared to primary data. Now, if your concerns are that some data or information, private information, can be compromised, these are softwares. You can build in within those softwares to take out what you fear would happen. That is if that is the case. And that's why I'm giving the examples that you already have other countries or companies outside this jurisdiction being in charge, and they have installed these systems and they are doing the monitoring. And I would rather be comfortable with the Ghanaian government having my data than an American or a Chinese company having that data. But you see, beyond that, if IMANI has issues, I think it will do us a lot of good and shape the debate. If they chronicle what the issues are and attach the evidence, go to the appropriate authority, whether you are petitioning Parliament or the President, or go to court, Sharaj or EOCO, and claim fraud, attach the evidence, and then you would help us do a proper debate on this matter. But currently, it seems to be all over the place. We're holding the head and the leg and the neck at the same time. We are not enriching the debate. And for me, that is troubling.
Okay. Rich, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. Richard Nyama was a manager in a private entity that operated and managed the system before, so he was trying to share his views with us. Now, as I said, I'll get back to the minister because most of the questions are actually directed at him so that he can explain to us. But coming quickly, what is the point you want to make?
I have an issue with what my brother Kwekubako raised about the legality of the procurement process. If we take that position, then Project Ghana suffers. There is not a single contract under the NDC that did not meet the requirements of the procurement process, because the procurement process made room for single sourcing, restricted sourcing, and other forms. And yet, collectively, as a people at a point, we thought, no.
Did you hear me talk on the sole sourcing matter? Did you hear me?
Listen to me. Listen to me.
So be careful what you are saying.
No.
Because I had a stand.
Yes.
And I articulated it publicly.
Listen.
That the law allowed it.
The law Listen, so when if we are just using the law, then we have not made progress. First of all, we are terminating a contract, I've just been told, and that is in court. Secondly, apart from the technical issues with termination, there are political issues around the whole SUBA and other issues. Others talking of local, others do. So if today we want to make progress, progress is learning from the past. If you go for restricted tender on a controversial issue, then we have not made progress.
I didn't hear you when the issues of sole sourcing were made. I didn't hear your stand. I would be interested in knowing what you said then. Because all I'm saying is that the law allows it. If you think fraud has been perpetrated, draw the line of the extension, point to the fraud, and ask for the fraud to be investigated.
But this is not even sole sourcing.
Where you
restricted tenders, which is different from sole sourcing.
Listen.
They are
different.
They are different.
Nobody. I don't think lawmakers were stupid enough to make that a different item if they are the same.
That's right.
But they share similar characteristics.
Not similar.
Listen.
Because we have the Procurement Act.
You choose anybody in position can then choose who come under restricted tendering.
That is misinforming the public. Let me tell you, when it comes to restricted tendering, the act is clear that you should be on the procurement entities database to start with. Exactly. Then after that, they would apply to the Public Procurement Authority with a number of lists. Then PPA would approve the list. Then it will come before you go through the process.
That's what it is.
Sole sourcing, you not go through that.
Please.
There's a difference between restricted tendering and sole
sourcing. The Public Procurement Authority has to approve.
But you should not be on the supplier database. And the technicality of the service to be procured is an important factor in this case.
Precisely. Are you saying that? Are you saying
both?
Are you saying? But there's even a more important issue that has been ignored. Under the amended Companies Code, we now have the right to know who are the beneficial owners of the entities. If we are insisting it's a joint venture, and because it's a joint venture, it should not be subjected to parliamentary scrutiny, then we have a right to know who are the Ghanaian parties partnering this company.
Well, that I agree with you.
All right, George, before I come to you, I've gotten the Derek Lai, who is Head Research and Communications, Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, on the line. Thank you very much for joining us. We have had a little difficulty in reaching you.
Hi, Thompson. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, your members are in the news and they are being cited as providing data that government cannot trust. What does the chamber make of that?
Thompson, good morning, and good morning to your listeners. I think that it's important that when the issues of integrity comes up, we need to speak. And I called in to clarify a few things. You see, we are not against the principle of monitoring telcos. The telcos are not against the principle of monitoring. That has been our position right from day one when this conversation began in 2009. Government is within his rights or her rights to monitor any operator. Our position has always been that it should be legal, it should be compliant with data protection and privacy rules, and it must not cost the consumer a dime.
It must not cost the consumer a dime.
Sorry, yeah.
You said it must not cost the consumer a dime.
It must not cost the consumer.
Okay, you go ahead and explain that to us.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said you will explain that to us, so go ahead.
Yes, I'll explain that to you. So I listened to your earlier speaker who talked about the fact that we have Huawei and mentioned Ericsson and the rest. The point is, the mobile operators have a contract with the customer. When you buy a SIM card, there's a paper inside. That's a contractual agreement. We have a hand as near as custodians of their data. We have that we are held 100% liable if we are giving that data to someone else. Okay. So what happens at the back end if I decide to even let somebody manage my traffic in the US or in China? The consumer is not bothered. But should there be an issue of data breach, the consumer knows the MTN office. And that's why the concern about privacy and data protection has been one that If you are bringing in a company to come and connect, we need to have a discussion about the architecture. If you are bringing in a company to come and connect, we need to look at where you are doing the connection, because we are concerned about the fact that the current conversation we are having, there's been concerns with one surrounding privacy, because looking at the architecture, the company will be able to tell the location of customers, can read text messages, can see the caller IDs, and can possibly listen into people's calls. And the law talks about capability, that the entity should not have the capability to do so. So if this is a technical conversation, it is not one that is assured verbally. So we need to go in there and try and see how best as technical people we can be able to work on the table and address these concerns. And that is how come this law has been there before, like George puts it, this law has been there when he came to meet it. The only reason why some of these things exist is because the conversation has always been around the billing network node, and not one that lets the company get access into the network and lifts data that we think could be a breach of the law. So I just come to the issue about integrity. When we in the mobile industry today, we all
before you come to the issue of integrity, did I hear you suggest that the needed conversation that should happen between the telcos and this entity has not happened, which is critical for you?
We started this conversation a long time ago. Where we are right now, I can confirm that even within the just before the holiday yesterday, that our members were writing to the NCA to raise concerns with regards to the architecture, because we still are not convinced that the current architecture, as it has been proposed and aligned, will protect our customers' data from a third party's connection to our network. So that conversation has not been closed.
Interesting. So talk about the question of integrity. What's it?
The question about integrity is pretty clear. We are saying that, look, we have revenue assurance departments who have set up anti-fraud and revenue assurance equipment on the network. You see, the way technology is dynamic today, it requires us to even ensure that we protect our own revenue flows so that we are not even shortchanged as telcos because of the dynamic nature of technology. And this has an associated benefit also to government revenue, because what we get, we declare. You understand?
Right.
If you come to our industry today, GRA is monitoring, NCA is monitoring. Manual audits, NCA takes CDRs as it pertains in most matured markets. Over there is no issue of we don't trust you or we suspect you, because the consequences of under-declaring revenue is damning, and the directors will go to jail. These are listed multinationals. This is not some tabletop flip-flop SMEs who are just sitting down and can say, look, change the transaction report and under-declare this. Why also? Because the bonuses of these directors are tied to performance.
Okay.
The shareholders who have invested into these businesses need to see that their investment is bearing fruit. And for that reason, there's no reason to show that we are not performing well or we are under-declaring revenue.
Okay.
The mobile sector today is paying over 14 different levels of taxes. That culminates to about 40% of our revenue going to the government of Ghana today as taxes. We are taxed in the same bracket as tobacco and alcohol. These goods are luxury goods and they have sign taxes on them. And the idea of sign taxes is to prevent people from using them. But we say mobile is an essential commodity, it's an enabler, we say all the nice things.
Okay.
I believe that these are where our issues are as an industry. Now, coming to the principles of monitoring. For me, if you look at even the VAT law itself, you can tell VAT from invoicing, from payment, and from goods delivery. If you ask any taxation person, they'll brief you on that. The issue of monitoring, for me, I give you this scenario. It's like somebody is moving from Accra to Tema. The person gets to Accra, pays money at the toll booth, joins the motorway, and then what we are doing when we say monitoring is we are now following them to check their shit. Did you pay 550%? Did you pay 10 cedi? That is what we are doing. If we say monitoring traffic, for me personally, it's a very tedious technical process without purpose. Because if all of you in the studio this very minute are using, let's say, Vodafone, and you place a call which lasts for 10 minutes, it would not be of the same value. Some of you could be on postpaid, some of you could be on standard tariffs, some of you could be doing promos, some of you could be doing bonuses, some of you could be accessing different types of packages that the operators give to incentivize customers to use their services more so that they could buy more small scratch cards.
I see.
How do we determine revenue in the industry? Here what we do is mobile operators have distributors. These distributors, for example, for MTN, they are not more than 5. What they do is they could go to the bank, they would pay into an account, usually called the deferred revenue account, and say that maybe I'm taking 1 million CDs worth of scratch cards. That 1 million CDs, we all know that 6% on that 1 million is going to government as CST. When they pay, when they bring the slip, the operator releases the stock to them, and then they run the stock through the distribution channel. It will go through.
Okay, did I lose Derek on the line? I wanted you to speak to a final question, and then you could take leave of us. I wanted to know, you know, what you make. You are the chamber for the industry. What you make of the contract that has become the issue, that the talking point that we are talking about now. Okay, so let's try and see if we can get Derek back to finish on that point, because we want to know what the telcos or the telecoms chamber makes of this contract. Okay, Richard, so thank you for getting back. Finish up with us on the issue, Derek.
Hello?
Yes, Derek. Hello, Derek.
Hi, Samson. Sorry, I lost you, but I think the point I wanted to
make... Derek, hold on. You've made the point. What I need to know from you now is, number one, you said this ought to be done at no cost to the consumer. How do you explain that, and tell us where you stand as far as this contract is concerned?
When I say this should be done at no cost to the consumer, I think that we met with George. I don't know if he spoke about the fact that there was a stakeholders meeting that was chaired by a senior minister last year. At the meeting, we made a proposal as industry that this process can be done without the existing existing contracts that currently we are faced with, because we believe that they are not cost effective, and they are also value destructive, and also a waste on government's revenue pairs. So for me, I felt that we were thinking, personally, I've been thinking that we're going to maybe see to whoever has a contract to kind of have a rationalized process where we could maybe, if you have a contract, how can we end this, and then how can we come back, sit with industry again, and align on what the best way forward is. But there's something important I need to clarify. The issue about mobile money, even George said 35 billion. In fact, the figures are low. That is a 2015 data. In 2017, we talked about value of transactions being 156 billion. When we say value of transactions, it's the money that moves on the platform. Example, if I give you 100 CDs and you keep passing it on to 3 people, we count it as 4 transactions. But if it was 100 CDs, you say 400 CDs value of transactions. But the money moving on the platform was 100 CDs. And these are people's monies that are held in the bank. So the money being held by banks at balance on float today is 2.4 billion CDs. Now, George talks about the fact that BOG does not have visibility on the mobile money sector. That is really flawed, because the monitoring policy and transparency elements today has been built into operational requirements, which is contained in the electronic money issuers guidelines, and is awaiting passage in Parliament as the payment systems bill. It is clear there that the supervisor is the Bank of Ghana, and if you look at the document carefully, they have introduced tiered KYC, transaction limits, suspicious transaction reporting, and if you come back to the sector, you see that we have gifts on one side, we have banks on one side, we have telcos on one side.
Yeah, GIPS is able to monitor the mobile money transaction traffic. GIPS is able to do that from their own screens in their offices.
Offnet.
Okay.
Offnet.
Right. Yeah. So did I hear you suggest that, as far as you are concerned, it doesn't look like this contract is actually necessary? You seem to support IMANI's point that, you know, the NCA could do this on its own.
Well, that has been a position that industry has held. For us, we are saying that government can monitor us. We don't have anything to hide as industry. But I think you didn't let me finish. I wanted to clarify something. So
you need to do that quickly. Do that in a minute for me, sir.
let me just give me a minute to land on this one. The point about off-net, on-net doesn't really come in when it comes to even mobile money, because GIFT is on one side, and GIFT has been doing settlements even before mobile interoperability came. Why? Because what the mobile operators provide is a digital interface which shows P-value. At the back end is the bank who hold these funds and move the funds at the back end among themselves. And GIFT is connected to the banks and is now connected to the mobile operators. And GIFT manages the clearing and the settlement process. On a daily basis, we push automated transactional reports to the central bank. And that is just the way all regulated financial institutions operate. So that logic is akin to say that then KelniGVG needs to also enter the financial space and monitor the banks, monitor gifts, and possibly add central banks and monitor it as well.
George is asking a critical question. Is this done in real time? That is critical, isn't it?
He said, is it done what? Sorry.
In real time.
Oh, you mean what he's talking about? With regard, like I'm saying, with regards to even the mobile money conversation, we are doing exactly what the banks do. The banking system has been with us over the last 120 years in Ghana.
Can I get a yes or no for this? Is it done in real time?
No, I don't know. If you talk about real time, that is a technical conversation.
How is it a technical conversation?
And that's where we would have to sit around the table and determine in what format real time should take.
All right. Okay, so thank you very much, Derek. Derek Lai is Head Research and Communications, the Ghana Chamber of Telecoms. Thank you very much indeed. Now we will try and finish up with George.
How many minutes do I have?
And my guest, who may have little points to make, because I can see Dr. Odro, the things he has written, a whole book is in front of him.
How many minutes do I have?
No, we cannot speak to minutes, but you should be able to deal with a couple.
Now, in the first place, I think what my senior here is saying about the procurement process, I think he misunderstands the issue. Okay, sole sourcing and restrictive tendering are two separate things.
I have never. No. I have never said they are the same, but I said they have similar characteristics.
They don't have similar.
They are two different.
No, he disagrees with you on the similar characteristics, which I share, and Dr. Odro doesn't exactly also agree. So it's okay. Let him make his point. Don't challenge it. Don't challenge it. Let's move on.
Doesn't he challenge others when they are making theirs?
Let's move on.
So I just want him to understand that I understand sole sourcing and understand restricted. I'm just saying that they have similar characteristics in that whoever is sitting in the chair has an influencing role. That is all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, George.
So they do not have similar characteristics. They are totally different.
I thought Dr. Osai had cleared that.
Yes, I just want to emphasize that. Now, it's interesting when there's a claim that when we're in position, we were challenging sole sourcing, and now we are doing restrictive tendering. In this particular case, okay, with the case of Suba and AfriWave, it didn't go through the procurement process. Okay, it was just an award of contract between the GRA to Suba, okay, and then the NCA to AfriWave. It didn't go through any procurement process. What we have done has gone through the procurement process, and I have, in a very, very responsible way, refused to talk about procurement issues, and I've directed every question to the Public Procurement Authority, and I'm happy. I'm happy that Bombay here, okay, has said the similar thing that I have been saying.
Okay, when you say Bombay, he's referring to Kweku Bako.
Oh, my apologies, sorry.
It's okay.
My apologies.
Oh, no
okay,
problems.
so Kweku has made a similar position that I have given. Okay, the PPA is there. The Central Tender Review Committee is there. You can always go to them and go and find out what processes were used. Okay, I won't come here to come and tell you something that you tell me that I'm telling you untruth. So go to that authority that has the mandate to speak on these matters. Now, on the issue of the ministry not doing enough as far as putting out the information, there are two sides of the coin. Okay. On 90% of the stuff that IMANI has put out, we have come and we have counted. 90% of the stuff, okay? When they spoke about NCA board members resigning because of this, indeed, something, your radio station broke that as a 6 o'clock news.
Right.
Okay? That the NCA board has resigned. When the NCA...
Someone had resigned.
And that there was going to be massive resignations following. Okay, when the NCA board came and
okay, there was no report that there will be massive resignations following. But it's okay, go ahead.
Well, when the NCA came, okay, and they refuted that position, I would have expected that Joy would have apologized to Ghanaians for putting out wrong information. They didn't.
Apologize for saying what?
Because they said that they gave wrong information, that the resignation...
When the JoyNews did the story,
yes,
they said that from the NCA, the resignation there's no reason given for the resignation. But that was their own sources that they put out. So they are entitled to say so.
Their own sources from the board. Okay, and the board came out and issued a statement.
Yes.
Okay, so it was wrong.
Hold
on, can I land? Okay, if Joy FM feels that they didn't do anything wrong, so be it. The people of Ghana are discerning enough.
But the point is that they did not misrepresent. They said that. No, they did not.
They did.
They said that someone has resigned. Has not given reason for the resignation, but from their sources, the resignation is connected to this brouhaha.
Sources from where?
They are entitled
not
to name them.
Sources from the board. Okay, sources from the board.
Okay.
The board came and gave an official position. Okay,
please, Ghanaians are not also children. You don't expect the board to come up and say this person resigned because of this.
It's okay. We are not okay, children. It's okay. Those are side issues. Can we get to the other matters of the contract?
Excuse me. I am not being pedestrian. If you say we're having an intellectual conversation, I'm not being pedestrian.
Right. Okay.
So please.
Okay. So George, these are side issues. Can we leave them and move to?
I'm talking.
You can rephrase.
I'm talking based on fact.
Okay.
So that was one of the things that IMANI came out to put out there that wasn't true. That Joy FM latched on it. IMANI came to say that we didn't go through the procurement process. Total lie. Total untruth. IMANI said we're not delivering on value for money. Total untruth. We have showed you the systems that we are procuring. We have showed you the fact that this is collecting the data in real time. And we have showed you that as far as the actual commercial agreement is concerned, okay, we are delivering this at 55% less than what the previous arrangement was.
You're saying that you know the equipments that are coming in.
Of course, but there's a BOQ.
Thank you.
There's a BOQ. But hold on, can I finish? Please?
Next question I was asking earlier, have they plugged in? They have been paid. Have they plugged in already?
Samson, let me finish and then you can add additional questions, okay? Now, when we talk about the engagement process, that doctor was saying that the engagement process wasn't solid. And again, I'm saying that is not true. Okay, there was a thorough engagement process. Indeed, on the 8th of March 2017, there was a stakeholder forum that was held at the Holiday Inn. This stakeholder process or forum was chaired by the senior minister. The Minister of Finance and his deputy was there. The Minister of Communications and one of her deputies were there. And the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority was there with his management team. The NCA Director General was there with his management team. The current NCA Board Chairman was there. All the telco CEOs were there with their management teams. Suba management team was there. AfriWave management team was there. And the decisions that were arrived at is what has informed this position. Now, you just heard the representative of the telecoms chamber. They have been consultations. He spoke about the fact that this meeting with the senior minister, but they have issues, germane issues. Samson. The telecoms chamber, with all due respect, the telecoms chamber is not responsible for policy.
It's just a reminder. But I wanted to ask the question.
Let me also remind you.
I wanted to ask a question.
Samson, you ask me questions.
Can we keep to the important question, which is that have they plugged in? They have been paid.
I will come to that.
You say you know of the equipment that are coming in.
I will come to that.
These are issues that IMANI is concerned.
I'll come to that. Okay. Now, the telecoms chamber is not responsible for policy as far as the sector is concerned. Okay, the policy as far as the sector is concerned is championed and directed by the minister. Okay, and the law clearly says that as far as this particular issue is concerned, is the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Communications that are responsible for giving that direction. That has been done.
You're not suggesting you can call their bluff and do anything.
No,
because if you are responsible for policy, the policy is for them. They are the ones making the money for you to get money.
Can I be allowed to talk, please?
It's a discussion, and
Yes,
I'm supposed to interrogate.
So let me finish my point, and then you can interrupt. Please.
Now we are wrapping up. We are not.
You're
not taking your presentation
You're always
anymore.
interrupting me.
We are not taking your presentation anymore. You did a 20 minutes uninterrupted presentation. Now I need to clarify a few points as we conclude on the subject. So, question of plugging in payments already done. You're saying they have plugged in?
Something.
What would be the basis for being paid?
It is not the responsibility of the telecoms chamber to direct the policy. The telecoms chamber are paid by the telcos. So they'll always fight the cause of the telcos.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it is unfortunate, okay, that Derek will come and say that there hasn't been enough engagement on this matter. Indeed, let me state what the law says. A service provider who has an objection to a request for the introduction of an equipment for the physical nodes of his network as provided under Section 4B shall within 7 days of receipt of the request apply to the High Court for a determination of the objection, stating reasons for the objection of this request. Okay, the minister wrote to the telcos about 3 weeks ago. The NCA has sent 2 reminders to the telcos. There hasn't been any objection. That objection is supposed to be within 7 days.
He says they met before the holiday.
No. What does the law say? The law says within 7 days apply to the High Court.
Point noted. Okay.
Now that hasn't happened.
Okay.
Last week Thursday, there was a meeting. Okay, that was called. The minister was there. The director general of the NCA was there. The chief director from the ministry was there. I was there, and the telecoms chamber, which represents the telcos, were there. Okay, and they kept on saying that as far as the policy is concerned, they don't have an issue. Okay, now it is not within the purview of the telecoms chamber to say that this is a waste of money when we are monitoring your activities that are taking place. We don't expect you to say anything different. Okay, but we are saying that we will still go ahead and we'll monitor within the laws of the country. You understand? Now, at that meeting, they raised 2 concerns: privacy of citizens' data and then the security of the infrastructure. Samson, you were a lawyer. Okay, if they had these issues and these were genuine issues, they should have applied to the High Court within 7 days. Okay, they didn't do that. However, the minister accommodated them. Okay, and the minister said, but there's a Data Protection Act.
You've been in their shoes before. I just want you to imagine how it feels. You said the BOQ has been published. Is that the case?
I didn't say it's in public. I said there's a BOQ that is there.
They don't seem to be aware that anything like that has happened.
Who's they?
Those who are involved.
Who's they?
The chamber.
But what has this got to do with the chamber?
Okay.
What does the bill of quantities?
Okay.
What does the bill of quantities of items for monitoring the activities of the telco got to do with the chamber?
IMANI has been meeting with the minister or your ministry and seeking information since March.
It's not true.
Are they aware of this?
It is not true. IMANI has never met with the ministry. It's not true. It's a total lie. Okay, despite the fact that IMANI gave us...
They're suggesting rather that you are lying about this.
Well, listen. If there are minutes, they should produce. If there are meetings, they should put us to shame. They should produce minutes of the meeting. I'm telling you
on the BOQ, they are saying that if you had them, you would have supplied. You haven't supplied.
Have there been a request for BOQs? Okay, and I've directed you everything procurement to the Public Procurement Authority. Okay, we haven't hidden any information.
All right.
And I'm telling that it's a total lie that IMANI has been meeting with the ministry. There hasn't been one request from IMANI to meet. Okay, and I'm saying that this doesn't quite make sense because IMANI in December recognized the ministry as a leading ministry.
Right.
Okay, there hasn't been any request for IMANI to meet with the ministry.
Okay,
and they're just IMANI is misinformed.
Right.
Okay.
So if I get to my last question,
about the plugging thing.
About
the plugging thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Answer that and let's see.
Now the deadline that was given to the telcos was end of this month. Okay, so we are not in a panic situation. We still have a few days for the plugging or for the connection to happen. However, Glow have connected, and we are monitoring Glow's activity live. The day before yesterday, I got assurance from Vodafone that they were connecting. Similarly, MTN. The law is the law. Okay.
What's the basis of the payments that have been made so far?
Okay, so this is a build, operate, manage, and transfer model.
Right.
On a monthly basis, you're supposed to pay a certain amount of money between GRA and the NCA, who are the implementers. I mean, the total that is being paid is $1.49 million a month. The contract says that 6 months after the sign-off, the system will be up and running, by which time all the proper information that you require from the system should be made available. Okay, so as at now, the value of the equipment that is on ground
okay, in Ghana, okay, is way, way, way higher than any amount that you would have paid over the 6 months period before the plugging happens. You get the point that I'm making.
Which is the COD.
Sorry?
Okay. So which is the COD?
Okay.
What is my COD?
Commercial operating date.
No, it's July. Okay, you've signed a contract in December. They have 6 months to build the system. Okay, and then they start delivering, and they are clear KPIs. They are clear deliverables. Come now, please.
You just asked me a question.
No, you interrupted and you said
it is unusual. Let me say this. It is unusual for payment to begin before COD. That's all I'm saying. Okay. It's unusual.
All right. You did a lot of unusual things. Okay.
That's why you are in government now.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with what we have done.
It is unusual. We have never had any payment before COD.
You can have your opinion. You can have your opinion. But this is a situation where at the end of the period of the contract, the equipment, the latest version of the equipment becomes owned by the government of Ghana. Now let me say something. This time
the government will own it.
Of course.
Okay.
And it's clear. You see, that's what we're saying, that the money is misinformed. Because if you read all these things, it's clearly stated that.
Don't focus on them. When I'm asking you questions, it actually brings the best out of you. You
I appreciate
answer
that.
them.
I appreciate
because
that.
I'm answering them on behalf of the people.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Okay. Now,
if you can just finish up.
Now on Tuesday.
Finish up
on Tuesday. Okay. The Ministry of Communications had proactively requested a briefing of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Communications. The Speaker of Parliament, in his wisdom, decides that we should brief the entire House, the plenary. Okay. So on Tuesday, all this information will come out. Okay. And let them, or let anybody else that has concerns, use that opportunity to ask the questions that they want, and we'll put this matter to bed.
Okay, thank you.
We are 100% convinced that what we're doing is good for Ghana.
Right.
We are 100% convinced that we need to be assured of the revenue that's available, most importantly, because we are looking at the Ghana beyond aid.
Right. Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Let me see if I can manage 2 minutes each from all of you, then we can move on 6 minutes, and then we can close this subject matter. Yes, quickly.
Samson, as a parliamentarian, briefing the plenary and appearing before a committee, they are two different things.
Okay.
One is more detail focused. The committee has the opportunity of asking far, far more detailed questions than the plenary.
But it's not their election. It is the speaker who says come and brief the whole house.
I haven't
instead of a plenary.
I haven't in Parliament on Thursday.
Yes.
You were in Parliament.
Yes.
And you didn't hear the
I
speaker's
was at a
ruling.
committee meeting.
Okay, but so you can read the 100.
Yeah, so, and
he's just saying he doesn't like the speaker's ruling. So,
it was
no, relax and allow him.
It was Alababi who made his ruling.
No, it's
honorable.
So it will not really give the opportunity. The plenary, the way the plenary is set up, I rather they went before the committee, before the plenary. Because the committee then can ask very detailed technical issues, call for documentation. The plenary is a different...
Okay, but you still join Dr. Drew's side that there ought to be a probing of this matter. Have you not gotten sufficient explanation to allay your fears?
No, I haven't. The probe is not, for me, it's not about fault finding. The probe is about process.
If there's nothing wrong, there's no need for a probe.
How do we go? No. I created a lot of agitation. I sincerely think, you heard the chamber gentleman saying that there was really no need for this to cost the taxpayer any money. And over a period of time, depending on who you listen, $89 million will be paid. Because I've been in a similar situation, I will not necessarily say, unlike what they were doing at the time, say there is something fraudulent. I will not say that.
How much were you paid?
How
much were you paying with the arrangement that you had?
Okay.
With the arrangement that you had.
No.
How much were you
Please, I am not saying that there was necessarily something fraudulent, but as a people, can we improve?
Okay.
Could there have been a better?
Thank you. Thank you.
Option.
Thank you. All right. Judge, thank you. Judge, thank you. Now, Doc, what are your closing comments? When you listen to the telecoms chamber and what the representative had to say, even though Judge appears to have issues and suggested a bit I think below the belt that because they are paid by the telcos, you should expect them to be wanting to defend their job. I don't think that was fair though. But when you listen to them, what are your takeaways? And how do you want us to conclude this issue?
Yeah, I think yes, George is telling us there was an engagement, but from the way the telcos are talking, it means it was not deepened enough. So we can deepen the engagement. I welcome the agreement to appear before Parliament, but I disagree with Dr. Kwabena Donko that we should go to the committee level, because that would then be a two-stage approach. After committee, before you bring it to the committee, the plenary, the House. I think that 275 MPs, all Ghanaians are interested in this matter. So from day one, let's go to the plenary. But I also think that when they appear before Parliament, there are issues that they need to properly clarify. It has come to the fore here. The issue of restricted tendering and then sole sourcing must be properly clarified. And then if they went through restricted tendering, under sections 38 and 39 of the Procurement Act requires that they publish the details in the procurement bulletin. If that has been done, they should refer people to the procurement bulletin. Right. And so that people would understand what has happened. And then they should also lay bare the value for money issues, the analysis that went into it for Ghanaians to know that we are likely to derive maximum benefit from this present arrangement than the previous one.
He has explained the value for money. Are you convinced? Are you happy?
Well, I am happy to some extent, but I should not be the only person to be happy. 275 parliamentarians must be happy. They should be able to convince the people, the people in their constituency.
No, you can't get all of them to agree.
Well, whether they agree or not, truth is one. If they are able to explain the value for money backed with hardcore evidence, why would you say that you don't agree? But I think these are germane issues.
They suggest that this can be done without this third-party intervention. At no cost.
Let's change the law.
Yeah, I disagree with them because that is the law. So what I am saying is that let them go all out.
The law provides for a common platform. The law doesn't say go and engage a third party.
Well, NCA and GRA have both confirmed that they don't have the current competence.
Okay, thank you.
They don't have the current
so basically, I think we should improve the transparency. We should put information out there. We should improve the engagement process. And the best is what we need for Ghana.
Okay, Kwaku.
Well.
I don't know if you have seen the contract also. One of the claims was that the minister was signing on behalf of the NCA and doesn't have the power to do that. I don't know. You have just been looking at it. That's why I'm referring that to you.
Can I respond to that, please?
30 seconds.
Okay, sure. So the minister signed on behalf of both the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Communications because she had approval from the Minister of Finance to sign on his behalf. Simple.
Okay, thank you.
And that can be verified.
Exactly.
Yes. So it shouldn't be a debate.
Your copy is not signed copy.
No, it should
it's
be.
there. I've seen one. But it's okay. What are your closing comments? Yeah, it's there. What are your closing comments?
If this had come before Parliament, it would not have been accepted.
If it had come before Parliament,
it would not be accepted.
Why?
They will have to sign individually. A deputy minister can sign for the Minister of Finance if it's not available, and the communication will have have to sign.
But have you read
normally?
I see. Have you read the law?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Kwaku.
No. I'm saying in the agreement coming to Parliament.
Thank you, Kwaku. Yeah.
If it's joint, it has to be signed by two.
I'm not sure I have any further comment to make relative to the substance of the subject matter. But I just want to put one thing out there. When there was this hula baloo about how sole sourcing was being applied,
right.
I was clear in my mind and I was consistent. And I'm on record here and elsewhere as making the point that those who had a problem with the application of sole sourcing should offer us something of evidential value that would point to abuse of it. Otherwise, those projects that came up, most of them were typically Exim Bank type of projects. And if you remember here, I even clashed with Dr. Kotosayo on it.
And the contractors are predetermined.
That's right. And it comes from source, where their money is coming from. I made those points, and I cautioned even our friends in the NPP that they were overplaying that point of sole sourcing if you are not prepared to bring the evidence that is being abused.
The suggestion was as if it was even criminal to do that.
That's right. And I cautioned against it here on Metro as well as on Peace FM. So I'm being consistent. Okay. In any case, there's a big world of difference between sole sourcing and restrictive tendering. And I think Doc has educated and informed us on it.
Right. Thank you very much. And
we welcome the probe.
Yes, there should be a probe.
Judge says they welcome the probe. And Doc is happy about
and we invite IMANI to come to the ministry and be informed.
Well, IMANI tells me that they have been seeking the opportunity to meet with you, and you simply ignore
it's not true.
And don't want to have a meeting.
It's a total lie. It's not true. There hasn't been any request from IMANI to meet.
Okay, this is second or third time he's saying it's a total lie. They also say you have told
they
total lies.
They should provide the minutes. They should provide the evidence.
Right. Okay, so this is where we draw the curtains on the first segment of the show. And I want to say thank you to Ni George Anda, who is MP. Nenyi George Anda, who is MP Owusu Senya West and Deputy Minister of Communications, who has been at the front of taking the fire from IMANI as far as this matter is concerned. Well, when we return, the panel will be reconstituted and we will deal with the next matters regarding somebody who has some people in his pocket and how that is criminal, and also whether or not we should have a tank farm and the recirculation, cylinder recirculation module and policy, and the problems that appear to be with it. We'll be right back. This is Newsfile.